Okay, welcome everyone to the Downtown Forum, being administrated, run by the town of Waldoboro, but hosted by Open House of History, which is based here in the 1855 Custom House. Open House of History is a new organization that I began to build empathy and connection through history, particularly in emotional engagement with the past. And one side of that is to be in constant discussion with contemporary issues and events, and think about government in a much more capacious way, not simply the people who give you services and answer complaints, but actually the very structure of our civic life. And to appreciate that dimension, we want to weave in history and thinking about community and contemporary issues in a much more capacious, generative way. And one of the ways to do that is to begin having conversations about town issues in this historic building because of its importance to the community of Waldoboro, to Waldoboro's history, and also the difference a building and design makes in how you think and feel. Obviously, not just your associations or memories of the building, maybe when it was a library, but simply being in here and letting the architecture and design affect you in some positive way, hopefully uplifting. Last thing I want to mention is that upstairs there is the our community mapping project that's asking people who live or love Waldoboro to mark on the map favorite places, memorable places, beautiful places, and that's all set up upstairs. So after the meeting, please wander upstairs and put stickers on the map if you haven't already. And the only other housekeeping business is their bathroom is also upstairs. So if you need to use the bathroom, just right up the stairs. And otherwise, please feel at home here. And I will turn it over now to Julie. And you can take a flyer about Open House History on the way out, or also sign up for the mailing list or talk to me. Thank you.
So thank you all for coming. Pretty exciting night. The downtown, a portion of what we're going to talk about has been quite a few years in the making. But this is Kate. Kate. I just want to introduce a few people. Kate Tagay is our town planner. She's been here since July, so she's relatively new to our community. She will be facilitating the discussion tonight. She has a lot of interesting things for you to do and fill out, and wants a lot of group participation. We also have our new Public Works Director with us tonight, Will Pratt. He's in the back of the room. So he started July 1st too. He's been with the Public Works Department, but he took over duties from John Daigle. We also have the chairperson of the Select Board, John Blodgett, here with us tonight. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Julie, I'm the town manager. So not any further ado to keep you waiting. Here's Kate, and she will facilitate us tonight. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see so many folks.
Yeah, we appreciate so many of you coming out. So really quickly, when you walked in the door, we handed you a packet. If you don't have a packet, just raise your hand. Julie will get you one. But there's three things we want to accomplish tonight. The first is to talk about potential traffic calming measures in the downtown. We now have some funding. We know this has been a topic of conversation for a long time in many meetings, but we actually have funding now. And we have a proposal. And so we're going to go through that proposal for the first 30 minutes of our meeting and talk about where we're proposing, if those seem like the right spots, if they don't seem like the right spots, if there are other spots that you all think we should think about as we put this plan into place, into action. The next thing we're gonna talk about, we're gonna spend about 30 minutes thinking about what we love about our downtown, what we've seen that has improved in the last 10 years. The downtown master plan has been in place since 2011, but it's been sitting on a shelf, getting a little bit dusty. And so the town voted again, that yes, this is a good plan in earlier this year, I believe. June. And so one of the things that Julie has tasked me with is to make sure that it doesn't sit on a shelf and get dusty for another 10 years. So, you know, I wanna know what's been done. I'm not new to Maine, but I am new to Waldeboro. And so what has been done? What improvements have you seen? What should we be celebrating? Very often we look at what's wrong and all of the issues that are around, but we don't take moments to stop and really look and go, gosh, this place that we live. And that's part of one of the things that excites me about doing it in this building with Michael's project upstairs, is because he's asking people to kind of stop and go, where are those places? So we're gonna do that for downtown for about 20 minutes. And then the last part of our evening is really, I'm gonna ask you to talk to your neighbors, to get into small groups and have a discussion about what you wanna see happen next, right? We now have funding for the downtown traffic calming measures. That's been a long time coming. There are limited resources. I have only about 25 hours at the town every week. And so where do you, as the public, where would you like to see me focus our planning efforts on and our energies? Because I can't do it without you. So, and this is just, you know, guidance for me, feedback for us that we can take under advisement of things that you're excited about. So that will be the last part of our evening, is looking at what should we do next. As you came in, I had you, and it was totally optional, look and see where you cross the road. And so, oh, where do I cross the road? And I asked you this just so we can start thinking about how we use downtown, and where we go. Shadows a little bit. Because some of us are very good, and most people cross the road at sidewalks and where there's crosswalks. And I know I'm not very good, and I often cross right in front of Perch where there's no sidewalk, no crosswalk. And just as we think about how pedestrians used our downtown with traffic going so fast through this area, where do we want people to slow down and be a little bit mindful? Where are people crossing the road here? So in your packets, the agenda's on the front. I gave you these packets and a pen so that if you have thoughts, if you have ideas that you want to jot down as we go through this evening, and then if you want to be shy and not speak in a public forum, I know that's not everyone's comfort zone, or if you have ideas that you really want to make sure that we get, you can hand this packet back to me at the end of the evening with your thoughts and ideas written on it, and I'll go through and I'll read them. So that's part of the reason of handing you this big packet of paper, is so you can hand me your notes if you want to, and it's totally optional. You're also, please feel free to speak up and ask questions and engage and interact. But walking you through the packet, the first thing is the traffic calming map. It's also larger right here, but I gave you your own version, and you might need a microscope to read it. I apologize, it's very microscopic. I'll walk you through it. The second page is scratch paper for when we get into our small groups to have discussions. You can take notes. I myself think better with a pen in my hand, so I like to provide that for others who do the same thing. You might not need that, that's okay. And then the final page is a feedback form. You can tear that off and hand it back to us. Tell us how tonight went for you. Other suggestions for as we engage folks. The town's going to be engaging in a comprehensive plan here in the next 2 to 3 years, so we wanna know how to make public engagement forums better. So the last page is a feedback form, again, totally optional. With that, let's dive into traffic calming measures. So, Julie and I and Will, met with Pine Tree Engineering, who are gonna be engineering this project for us. And we talked about how fast people go, where people tend to cross the streets, where the busiest places are. And now we're bringing this to you with the question of what else do we need to be thinking about? What did we get right? Where should we think about moving things? So if you look at your maps, we have, let's start on Main 220 out here on Friendship Road. There's a speed table, and Julie, you'll have to, I'm not as familiar with the geography as you are, but the one that's way out on 220.
So that would be, where the former industrial site, was Sylvania. I hope I don't have to put $5 in a jar, because we call it where the future Madomic River Community Park will be, across and where Sammy's bowling alley is. That's going to be approximately where the, first speed table would be.
Would you explain what a speed table is, please?
It's similar to a speed bump, but more gradual, it's not like a bump, it's more gradual slope. Usually it's marker paint to visually to people to slow down.
Thank you.
Also makes it easier to plow, so the plows aren't coming.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a flat spot on the top.
And you don't get the ta-da.
But does it work if you don't get the dump?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
If you go too fast over a speed table, you get a little in your car.
And wait, just a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
You have two different phrases here, there's enhanced crosswalk or raised crosswalk and speed table.
Yes.
Those different things.
They are different things. They are different things. So further out of town, sort of in anticipation of some development happening at that site, community park, there's the Madomic Community Park Committee that's really working to try and get some development there. Thinking that that might be a good spot because there might be future pedestrians there. So that will be a speed table, up, a little bit of flat, a little bit of up.
We're confused, most of the roads that you show in the state highways in our past conversations with the selectmen, it was responded as the state's responsibility. Is Waldeboro Public Works now taking on this task?
So this is a village partnership grant. So the state is providing 60% of the money. And
So rather than doing the work themselves on the state highway,
correct,
they're providing the town, so
So-
the residents will be picking up 40%?
yes.
Oh, okay.
So 60% was from the state. And these are roads that we do winter maintenance on. So that happened, I don't know when we started winter maintenance on state roads. 20.
Who would put that, who would install that? The state?
No, the contractor, we have to put the project out to bid on the contractor.
So how is, again, I'm still, because we've been down this road unfortunately, because we've got some residents of the Jefferson Street curve that we've already had discussions with the town about, and we still have the residents sign up there that the state is going to change. And we have the flashing 25 miles an hour that people still go by at 40 miles an hour. And that looks like that has not been addressed, it's actually been cut off from the map, the initial map and the sign, and you could put a dot there where most of the crossings take place from residents walking from Hannaford to the Sproul Block. The way you put the dots on the map, that whole section is missing there, I'm just curious why.
Talking, here's your,
Over here, on the other, on the.
Or the S
Yeah,
Street.
you see the whole blank, that's that section right there.
So it would be Mill Street.
that's just.
Well, it's not just Mill Street, it's the contested corner that we've addressed with the town for
Right.
several years.
Right.
Many years, and the state.
Right, well, I
I'm
don't
just
think,
wondering why that's missing on that, right there.
This was just, this is, I think folks added it. This was just the limitation of this particular map that I was using.
And again, the most contested spot in the town is missing from your map.
right there. And that's me not knowing, right, because I'm new.
Okay.
So this is an education for me as well, to know that that's why.
So, and that's not a place we could put a crosswalk.
We, the last town meeting that I attended, we were talking about doing the speed bumps at that section.
So let's talk about
that's
the
eliminated.
Right, I
Jefferson
think
Street.
we'll have an opportunity to chat about that as we go on.
I just wanna make a comment, you've got a scale on here, so it's not just a misplacement for approximation. You've got these enhanced crosswalks set back a number of feet away from the intersection. And my comment on that is, somebody coming down 220 toward town and making a right-hand turn at the attorney's office is gonna run right into somebody crossing into that sidewalk. The sidewalks have to be visible. And somebody coming down that road or coming around the other road, they need to be right at the intersection, not set back 400 feet or whatever.
Which one are you talking about?
So you're talking about at this four-way intersection.
At the four-way intersection in town.
Yeah.
I mean, the sidewalks there now are right at the intersection, and they have to be because of visibility.
But they also allow parking right there, right in front of Sam's old office.
Right.
Everybody can park there, so there's a vehicle parked there, you can't see, there's already been a woman hit and crosswalking.
And there's multiple issues. I mean, this is a complex issue because there's parking, and we're just talking about speed right now. We know that parking is an issue. So we're just trying to get people to slow down in the village area. So it's a very small piece of a much larger project.
And we're
I
not,
think if you,
an
once
issue,
you
so.
address that parking, which,
Yeah.
the parking right in front of that building is an issue for drivers coming out of Jefferson Street trying to cross the road, and et cetera. So once you get those cars out of the way in front of the barber shop and the lawyer's office, then you could have your crosswalks at the intersection.
we're not doing away with any crosswalks that exist.
Speed bumps, not crosswalks.
Yeah.
They're to slow you down before you get to the stop
And
sign.
yes, crosswalk,
Never mind, but it's not the only crosswalk.
So, yeah, so just to clarify, what we're adding, we're not gonna take away any of the crosswalks that exist. So all of the crosswalks that are on here, they're gonna exist. What we're doing is we're adding. So, for example, right here by the Waldeboro Public Library, there is an existing crosswalk. And what we're proposing is that because there's a lot of traffic between the post office and the library, as people are dashing to get their mail, dashing to return their books, there's a lot of people crossing right there. That we're gonna put in a raised crosswalk. So we're gonna raise up the crosswalk so that the crosswalk actually acts like a speed bump. And slows the traffic down, but the crosswalk will remain.
So they're not, the enhanced crosswalks are not as high as the speed table.
Right.
They're small, and it's not like the flashing ones.
Yes.
Yes, it is?
And enhanced crosswalk does have the beacons, the flash,
Okay, so
Yeah.
it is
like the
a
one
flash.
that's on Route 1 here,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
activated the
okay.
flashes.
So they will all be the flashing ones there.
but I just wanna make a point on those pumps. I was just down in Portsmouth, and, New Hampshire. And, I was on a street, residential street, and I was really, impressed with how they did their little bumps. There was nothing flat at the front, just a slight bump, and I knew I went over it. And after the bump was crosswalk. So the crosswalk was flat, so you don't have to worry about handicapped people running off the crosswalk with their wheelchair. And the bump has already sort of alerted cars that they should pay attention. And I just wanted to share that. with you.
That's a great example.
It was brilliant.
Also, to be clear, the raised crosswalk is actually more accessible for people with mobility issues, because you don't step down off the sidewalk on the street and step up the street onto the sidewalk, it's at the sidewalk level.
No, it won't be. You can't have a bump that big and have plows get over it.
And anyone add to that?
You can, because they're gradual, it's not like a steep thing.
It's a
they
gradual
spread them out. So
thing, exactly. So it goes down.
If you allow it to slow things along, and then plows can ride that. That's
Yeah, so,
why we have it.
as a visual, a regular speed bump is a little bit like that, and the raised speed bump goes like that.
It might be helpful, like, what would the footprint of something like that be? Like, how wide, would that end up being? Just for.
Is it wide enough
visualization
for a walker
purposes.
and or wheelchair?
Yeah.
The raised ones.
6 feet or so, maybe.
6 feet,
Well,
So I'm here, right at the Waldeboro Public Library, there's proposed for a raised crosswalk. There's also, an enhanced crosswalk at the existing crosswalk, right here, just beside the laundromat.
What is it? Nancy?
It's the raised with the flashing lights.
Yeah, forgive me, Kate,
Yeah.
but we've got the raised speed table, I understand that.
Yeah.
Then we have the raised crosswalk with RRFB, and we have the enhanced crosswalk with RRFB. What are they? Well, how are those two different?
That is a good question.
So
the enhanced crosswalks aren't, they won't be raised, those will just have the flashing beacons active like pedestrian.
Oh, okay.
And in certain areas, you can't have raised for drainage reasons or because there's side roads that you don't want to bump coming right out of the side road, like parking turn. So those locations, the engineer thought it was better to have an enhanced crosswalk, which just beacons.
I'd like to say, putting this together, a small fault road nicely started, and I appreciate it. I'm just starting to get my head around it.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, so, the two crosswalks, and I'm just sort of walking through this because I know that the maps in your lap are hard to read. But there's an enhanced crosswalk by the laundromat and then an enhanced crosswalk by the, Worcester Street parking, or the Worcester lot. Is that the right name, Worcester? The Worcester lot. So again, those are the flat with the flashing, so that drivers are more aware of pedestrians. There's a raised crosswalk by the library and a raised crosswalk out on Jefferson Street. And I'm not sure exactly what this is in front of,
That's near the curve, that
the curve.
John was talking about earlier.
So that's then a raised crosswalk. And then further along Jefferson Street, just before Mill Street, there's another raised crosswalk there. And those are all in locations of existing crosswalks.
I'm just wondering how all this work that's being proposed is gonna interface with the sinkholes that are developing on the state roads that I'm sure the public works is aware of. We've got them in front of the MVS, they're starting in front of the drains that was installed, they're up and down Jefferson Street. So those gonna be addressed before we go spending town money, 40% by the residents of the town. Going forward, even though we got 6% grant from the state. So we're going to be putting new work on top of corrupted work. Is that gonna be addressed before this happens or after?
That's a good question.
I'm sorry, I was letting somebody in, I didn't hear the question.
Well, you guys are looking at hiring somebody to put this, if you got a grant. And yearly, there's sinkholes developing along Jefferson Street from the work that the state did that was substandard and never completed to the full intent that it was intended to be completed on years ago. So we've got drainage issues. So now are we gonna be putting 40% of our taxpayer money
No,
on top of work that then will have to be torn down?
my understanding from the state is that they are planning on addressing that corner.
It's not just the corner, it's spreading all the way down Jefferson.
So
It's-
that they've
it's
had their,
liability issue.
what I was told was they've had their engineers out there. So
So
that,
those are the ones that put the cones in in the holes that people are almost tripping over?
I don't know if those are the engineers or if that's the MDOT. That I cannot comment on. But from what I have heard from the MDOT department, their engineers have been out there and that work would be scheduled to be done prior to when we do that.
Okay, well, again, as a taxpayer,
I
do
I,
not want $1 of my tax money to be spent prior to the state addressing their deficient
It's
water.
a state road, it's a state problem.
yeah, so
But if we're putting, no, we're paying 40%, I'm sorry, you must have missed that. They're
No,
going to
I'm
grant,
talking about the sinkholes. If
The
the
sinkholes,
sinkholes
right.
are on the state road and if it's state work, it'll be state money.
but if we have to put tabletops in and all this, they have to come out and
That's
correct anything.
That's it.
right, so my understanding is they're going to address those issues prior to us doing work. We probably will not be getting to this work until the fall of next year.
Okay.
Because we certainly wouldn't want to do it during the summer.
And
You know, we're gonna try to plan better than the state has at times.
Not to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I will say like, so the sinkhole that is currently in downtown, between the Cumberland and now what Chip and Olga have, which used to be Fernald's, which used to be a cabinet shop. Just like, so you know, Pete, there was already a sinkhole. And the state came and fixed it, but they only fixed the down part and not the original problem, so now we have a new, so yeah, like you were saying, it wasn't done properly.
I
And
suggest
now they have to
anybody
cover
walk the
that.
water side of Jefferson Street, you'll see at least 5 sinkholes.
Oh, no, I know, there's a Heineken bottle in one of them.
Yeah, somebody-
You couldn't get it out.
Anyone want to trip?
Just so you know, we do have a reasonably good relationship with the MDOT. But again, you can write all of this down when our engineer goes over it with their engineer. So it's not like our engineer makes they have the final say. So whatever plan we come up with, we have to take to them. All of those issues can also be addressed at that time when we have that meeting with the engineer to remind them there's all of these issues. And if you do see things like that, please call the town office.
Oh, yeah.
If you call us, then we call the MDOT and hopefully that greases the wheels. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'll be honest with you. But, and it doesn't hurt to also call their garage right here in Waldeboro, technically. So there is an 832-5202 number that goes directly to the MDOT garage right here in Waldeboro.
What's that number again?
832-5202. So any issues you have on state roads, feel free to call. With any state property or state roads in Waldeboro, that's who you would call.
Awesome.
Don't shy away from calling us though, because we follow up with a phone call.
And when we get projects and opportunities like this, it gives us another chance when we sit down at MDOT to say, also along this stretch of road, there are these things that we need to.
Because they don't want to waste their portion of the money either.
So our job tonight is to place these as best we can, that's our job.
Yes. Or to, this is a first to think about it and to ask the good questions that you're asking. And then I know some people need a chance to think about it and, so this is your opportunity to ask some questions, make some suggestions, but it's not your, you know, we are here, we're a phone call away. If you leave the meeting and go, oh, I have a question, or, oh, I had a thought. Or, oh, I would really love to see a speed table here, or I don't think it's gonna work here because, we would love to hear those thoughts, so.
Just a comment on one of the speed tables called M1 in front of Cider Hill, to the left.
Yeah.
So when you're coming out of Cider Hill, looking to the left, it's like a blind, a blind curve and can be dangerous to pull out of there. When you're like pulling out of Cider Hill, you're looking to the left, it's like a blind curve and can be tricky, so I don't know if that's maybe it'll make things better, but I just know that is a tricky spot.
So just in addition to that,
Yeah.
Kaler's Corner, is going to go through some significant changes. Because it is the most dangerous intersection that we have in town currently. That's going to be made into a 4-way stop. So the Kaler's Corner Main Street, 4-way stop, And there's going to have to be, the road is going to be raised. And things are going to be cut back on both sides because they have to have enough room, like, it's almost like building a ramp. So that when an 18-wheeler comes up that hill and hits that stop light, they can stop on flat ground and start again.
What's the timing on that?
So, well, we tried really hard to get it last year. And we tried this year, but it is slated for 2026, 2027.
So winter.
Well, I'd say probably 2027. They probably wouldn't do it in the winter, but we've been really pressing them about the safety of that issue. We had a really bad car accident there where somebody ended up on the roof and there were kids in the vehicle. And that is now, we used to have 4 very dangerous intersections. 2 of them, the 2 most dangerous were, they put 4-way stops in, so this will be the third 4-way stop to go in.
Can you, you mentioned some of these crosswalks having lights. Can you say where they are and what that, describe what you mean by lights?
Sure, so it would be, the one and the Sproul block, anywhere where it says enhanced crosswalk. So these 3 that are right in the downtown area, the one on Jefferson Street, there's one on 220, and there's one on Main Street to the south. And what it means, and Will can add on if I get it wrong, but it means that there are big flashing signs that say crosswalk. And when you cross the road, you push the button, then the lights go on.
Oh, so they only happen when someone
Yeah.
pushes the button.
Yeah.
I was also.
So what besides flashing lights makes it enhanced? Is it accessible?
My understanding is that these crosswalks are just normal crosswalks, right?
Yes.
They're not raised in any way. So they
Okay.
would not be as accessible as,
There's no accessible crosswalk anywhere near the Sproul block. I know a couple of people, one on a regular basis, and have to help them up over the curb and down. Over what? Up and down on the curbs. They cannot do it on their own because of that.
So any enhancement we make has to be comply with the ADA curb cuts. So, right, hopefully that answers that
So
question.
even at these enhanced crosswalks that are not raised crosswalks, the curb cuts will accommodate ADA.
Okay.
Anything that we do has got to meet ADA standards.
Because they took away the cutout in front of the Sproul block and.
Correct, because
outside.
that was considered a mid-block crosswalk, which with everybody turning off Main Street was considered dangerous. So the state made us remove that crosswalk because it was a mid-block crosswalk.
And, you know, it's more dangerous at the corner, I think, for most people who can't.
I might be misunderstanding, but the raised crosswalks also have beacons.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
So that adds 2 raised
Yeah.
crosswalks that have beacons.
So there's a raised crosswalk here, and there's a raised crosswalk here, and there's a raised crosswalk here. So it actually adds 3. So
Great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the crosswalks will have beacons. 3 of them will be raised up above the level of the road.
And are those posts for the light, I mean, they're not also heavy, I mean, they're just enough to accommodate a button, they're not like big things that are.
No, they're like street sign with the, like a crosswalk.
So it's street signs.
Just like with-
Visuals.
Down Route 1 in front of the town office, there's one.
Yeah.
Straight across from Irving with the little restaurant. Been there probably 10 years.
I've never seen
So
it.
flashing lights flash long enough for somebody with mobility issues to get across?
I don't know how long they flash. I know in other ones that I've used, they flash for about the same amount of time as a crosswalk sign. So like when you hit the button on the crosswalk, it's I think 15 seconds or so. So I think they're about the same as that crosswalk.
So it'll be flashing until somebody's in the middle of the road and then stop.
Why does there have to be a full height sign there? What's the alerting? I mean, if it's, and where's the light? It's up on the top of the sign?
I don't wanna Like for that thing going off.
No, it's a sign, like a yield sign, but it's got lights around it.
Okay.
So that's all,
where the flashing
Yeah.
happens, up-
yeah, there's no light overhead.
Yeah.
It's right on the sign.
So it's not in the, it's
No.
not involved.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
So these enhanced crosswalks with the flashing lights that are going to be placed in close proximity to residences. Will they be in, like, are they, every time they come on, is somebody gonna be looking out the window and seeing lights coming on?
Good night.
I walk my dog.
Well, you can go over to what we just talked about, the crossing of Route 1 and see how it looks. It's not
That's
that.
on Route 1, it's not on Jefferson Street, or, it's a different
But
area.
if you wanna know how true the lighting, go push the button and see it.
Yeah, but it's on both sides of the street, and it's on facing both directions in a small village area, so it's a whole different experience.
Exactly.
Sorry,
You just point out-
this gentleman raised his hand and wanted to say something.
It's just amber lights, it's not, you're not terribly bright. You're not.
Sorry, go for it.
You need to cross safely, yeah.
Yes.
Ken had a question, please go ahead.
No,
Yes.
I walk my dog twice a day, all over town. And you never believe the crossing. Never. Because people drive right past, particularly the one before corners, Jefferson and Tracy. Just don't pay any attention to it, go right through. So we'll make sure that I wait longer Sunday. I think that anyway, there's a cross up.
And I think that's the purpose of the lights, is to give a visual that, hey, something's
I hope it works.
happening. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of arrows in our quiver to make people behave.
Could we,
Yes, I'm gonna take two more questions and then we're gonna move on to the next part of our agenda, but, because this is, we gave you this information to think about things, so, and then you.
Perhaps you could, if you're gonna put one of those flashing lights down in front of my house, I would request that you take out the street lights because it's already daylight 24 hours a day out there. You probably don't need a flash yield sign, there's so many lights on.
Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, it's bright.
All right, and over, yes, you had something.
I just have an observation. The three enhanced crosswalks are relatively close to the four-way intersection, but the one at the public library, and I missed what you said at the beginning, if there's a lot of foot traffic there between the library and the post office, I know personally, I never cross up there. And as a dog walker and a pedestrian, I tend to want to cross at Glidden Street or School Street. But that's because I've lived down Friendship Road side. But from a driving perspective, those streets are hard to pull out of and see as well. But I think if you're a walker, there's nowhere to cross on, when you come out of Glidden to school, you have to go to the left and out of the way to go up to the public library.
Actually, I would second that comment. I would say that that's a really natural loop that you could, that School Street, down Jefferson, up
Yeah.
Main, Glidden, I mean, that's actually, that's not a terrible idea.
And similarly with coming out of School Street onto Jefferson, the raised crosswalk looks to be across from the, this is the VFW.
I think so, yes.
Are they allowed to be, like, if it was right at School Street, I cross over to the River Park, and if I'm coming down School Street, that, you know, that's where I naturally will cross.
I think because it's raised, we don't want to put it right at the intersection of a road, just because that makes turning out a little bit more difficult. So I think that's the logic of the location of that, because it is raised up.
Could it be on the other side? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, there's also, so one of the things that we talked about was trying to space them out to keep people slow, right? Because if you put them too close together and then you have a long space, people will speed up again.
Right.
That's the natural inclination, so it's trying to space them out so that people have to stay slow. So that's, you know, why there's one up here on Jefferson Street and then one a little bit farther down, is the only thought around that. So we're, just, you have,
Is that near, Stores Lumber? This first one, down at the bottom by Friendship.
this one?
No, there's one that's well before Stores Lumber.
Storage Lumber is down here, it's right at the gap in the buildings,
So it's right at the
downtown.
store.
So, this generated a lot of great questions, a lot of great suggestions. I really appreciate your engagement with this. Continue to think about this. My email is planning@waldoboromaine.org. Julie, also town manager at waldoboromaine.org. Please, if you have further thoughts, further questions, further concerns, email us about them. That's what we wanted to do here, is get you thinking. And I had a former colleague who used to say the smartest people in the room is the room. And that's what we're doing here tonight, is we're gathering your collective wisdom, because we don't know, you know, where you like to walk and where you like to cross the road and things like that. So thank you very much. So for the next of 20 minutes or so, I want to get a list of the things about downtown that we love and celebrate. I've already heard a couple of things. Like to walk our dogs downtown. Things you love, things that you have seen improve over the last 5-10 years, however long your association with Waldoboro is. I'm gonna give you about 2 minutes to think on your own. And there's some scratch paper, there's a space you can write things down if that's the way you like to think. You don't have to if that's not the way you like to think. Then I'm gonna ask you to turn to the person next to you, or, you know, form a little group of 3 if you're all by yourself, and have a bit of a conversation, and then we'll come back together and share some of those things out as a larger group. So that's our work for the next 20 or so minutes. So I'm gonna give you 2 minutes now to just think, and I will be quiet.
Staring at the street.
Okay, if you haven't already had a chance to turn to your neighbor and start chatting, please do that. Thank you for being willing to chat. I love hearing the sound of all of your voices. So, let's make a list of what came up in your conversations. What are things that you've seen that have improved in downtown and that you really love?
I'll speak up. I haven't said anything yet, I like to talk about it. I see a lot more activity in the village. I was just telling John, you know, I've lived here 60 years now, but I lived in North Waldeboro, sold a house and moved south Waldeboro, maybe because I'm in and out of the village more often now, but 10 years ago, you didn't see the activity in town that's going on now. Positive activity, I should say. You know, I can talk 50 years ago, some of the activity that happened down in front of that parents. Positive.
Tonight we're keeping it positive.
I put down that, the view of the river at the intersection of Jefferson and Main Street, that wasn't always there. There was a big building that they took down, and it just opened up. It was a long time ago, but I remember when that building came down, that it just opened up the view, and it's a delightful view. It's a terrible intersection, but when you're sitting there, you get this great view.
So I think one of the most beautiful things coming from Waldeboro is down Main Street. South, I think south. And, the light there is pretty good because when the sun is down, you can't see anything. It's like you have the light stopping you going down the hill in the fall, but it's where the sun's low and rising. But what I was gonna say that, in addition to having that building out of the way, that whole area, the whole parking area, behind. Yeah. It's just it's a gorgeous area that can get cleaned up and improved. If there can be a parking part there, then you've got more of a nexus for the town. Yeah, what I'm talking about.
We're talking about positive things that we like about the town.
There's possibilities, and the town now owns that lot. It does have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate the River Park, and we'd love to see more things open.
Oh, yeah.
River Park, that's the next part, is what's next?
There's a park, the River Park you talking about on Jefferson Street. There's a lovely park out behind the old school, was it Katie Gray? There's a lovely park out there that nobody knows about.
It's a great place to walk your dog.
Yes, I know somebody that walks their dog every day there. But the thing is, when you come out over Route 1, it gets a little confusing as to where it goes. But, and I don't know who's in charge of that, but it's lovely.
Nobody's maintaining this trail there,
Yeah.
and it's not maintained by the Maine Coast Conservancy. It would be nice if it was maintained.
Well, the conservation committee needs more help.
All right, what other things are positive that we've seen improvement?
Perch,
Has
absolutely.
brought so much downtown. You can tell when they're closed, because you look out and it looks like it used to, nobody parked on the main street. I'm like, I used to, when I was on the front, I used to look out the window and I'm like, yep, took away, nobody there. And then Perch came in and it was like, there's life downtown on, you know, several days a week because of Perch. And you can't find a place to park because they're so popular sometimes.
I think number one, all the events the Waldorf Theater is bringing into town, and also, I still call it the new library, but I love it. I love the library in town. Yeah, I put those two things, the events on Waldorf Theater and the library.
And the used bookstore.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, the Midcoast Conservancy offices.
Smart.
So go off of that, my thing to encompass all of that is that there's so many, like, I'm using the word useful businesses, but what I mean is like places for locals to go, like there's there's like store lumber, the lawyer, the barber shop, the tavern, the post office, the library, like. The pharmacy, yeah, like there's just so like
Bear Hill.
Yeah, Bear Hill, and like, and there's the parks, there's, like, I'm downtown almost every single day, all day, and I just park my car and I get all my errands done, and it's just amazing to be able to walk to so many variety, go to the Waldo show, and just be able to walk there, so it's, yeah, it's really great.
That is a really good point because the alternative is a lot of kitsch.
Yeah,
retail
which I've
that
seen
isn't very
happen to
useful.
other towns, that I used to live in, so, yeah.
I just wanted to add to what Lori said about Perch. I put down that I like that there are 2 community gathering spots in the downtown, and that would be Perch and the Narrows, are both community gathering spots.
There's another thing, like, because I'm downtown, and so I just recognize so many people, like, it's a really great neighborly community, you know, you're always saying hi, you know, people, like.
That was the first thing I put down, seeing people I know.
Yeah, like, there's times from the Midcoast Conservancy office to the Worcester parking lot, even yesterday, like, I stopped and talked to 3 people. From the MC office to the Worcester parking lot, like, 3 different people on different things, so it's like, yeah. it's just so great. Well, you don't know.
Yeah.
This is a phenomenal list. We have a really useful, vibrant, wonderful, walkable downtown. That's something to celebrate and not something that everybody has.
I have one thing is pride of ownership. If you look at what folks have done to homes on Main Street over the past 10 years, when we moved here, there was a lot of houses that you kind of, you know, weren't too sure about, and most of those have been repurposed and rebuilt, and you know, there's real pride of ownership now if you drive along those streets.
That's great.
Okay, can I add that actually, I would say, hearing what everyone says, that we don't yet have a, you know, fully developed vibrancy based on all of these facets, but what we do have that distinguishes us is the potential for that no other town has, right? So I wouldn't want to give the impression that, like, I mean, if you do, you know, walk at certain times, as Maury says, like, things aren't as vibrant all the time. But what everyone's pointing out is that the foundational building blocks are actually there, like the feeling is there to capitalize on and design around, and that we should, even though it may be at lower simmering levels, don't get discouraged, because at least it's simmering. In many other towns, those have blown out and it's just been replaced by kitschy shops and tourism. So it's low, but you can turn that, you know, you can turn the burner up now.
Excellent. That is a great question to segue into our next phase. And if there's things that you want to add to this list, we can absolutely add to it in the next phase, but I want to move us on just because you're giving us your valuable time and I really want to honor that. And what I want to come out of tonight with, selfishly, is a list of priority things that you really want to see us working on. And so I'm going to give you another moment to think, and then I'm going to ask you to find someone who you aren't sitting next to, just to get us up and moving a little bit. So find someone that you didn't come with or that you're not sitting next to, or that you didn't talk to the last time, someone new, and we'll have that pair again or the small group and talk through it again, and then we'll go back to the big group, kind of that, same individual thoughts, group conversations. And what I'll ask is that in that small group, you prioritize one or two that you want to bring up to the whole group. So that you do a little bit of prioritizing in your small group, and then that you share one or two from your group, from your list to the larger group.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. There's ideas to get started. What does second facade improvements mean?
So it means, the Friendship Street stores have their front facade facing Friendship Street. And then there's the facade that they all have on the Worcester parking lot. And that's kind of their second facade. And so there's been in the downtown master plan, and I will bring out, I brought the plan, I brought some of the old documents from 2011. I'll put them here on a chair if you want to come up and get some ideas. I have those documents if you want to flip through them. But it was mentioned in there as a possibility. So that's what second facade means. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna give you a minute to think on your own, and then I will, when that minute is up, I'll let you know, and you can find someone and find a small group, 2 or 3 people, to have a conversation about what's on your list.
Looks a lot nicer back.
No.
Yeah.
If it's too loud in here, there's also upstairs. You can get these sidewalks. Go upstairs to have a conversation.
And now I'm,
Is this group going to start?
Sure.
What were some of your things?
Bike parking in the Booster lot. If you haven't, they will ride their bikes. And in the Booster lot, while we're on that topic, signs that say things like 1 hour parking, 8, 9 to
6, it's great that, thank you, Will, for putting the parking sign at Worcester Lot, so you know that it's not just designated parking for the people on the shops on Friendship Street. Some sense, again, of the order, so that people have an idea of how they're supposed to park there. For one time, when I was parking there, when I was working at the used bookstore, I was kind of unclear, was I supposed to park, parallel or nose in or so forth? It seemed like a bit of a free for all. Walking trails, if there was a trail from, just a little trail from the, again, Worcester Lot to stores, from Worcester Lot across Main Street, down along the river to the river park, would be a nice walking place. A sandwich shop, which I know that's not something you folks actually would recruit people for, but it would intrigue. That's about it.
Great, this group over here?
We talked about the Worcester parking lot. Also, the people from out of town who live out of the village need parking, and that will improve the parking, I think, and also people enjoy the view from there. I think the old plan we talked about, I worked on that years ago, it was doing something with the backside of the downtown block. Putting something, yeah, right, yeah.
Creating a collar around the parking area of actions.
Enjoy the view.
Yeah.
I've always thought, since we have more clam flats than any other town in the state of Maine, that we should have a clam shack. Of course.
Where the kibasa place, not kibasa, where the meat place was, the meat on the.
Oh, the, here skin shop. Over there.
Would that I could control the businesses.
Well, I thought the Randy's place down here would be a nice.
All right, that group in the back?
We talked about lighting, like it'd be nice if the street lights weren't like up there, if we had kind of street lamps that aim down, those feel homier and more inviting and these guys are gonna open a lunch and dinner cafe where the cabinetry place was.
With clams.
Lovely Kate was one of our first calls, so it's great to see in person.
Forgive me, Julie, I've been harping on this for 9 years and I'm gonna harp on it as long as I live in Waldeboro. I love the new town. I love that one reason I bought a house here was the sidewalks. They're everywhere. The other reason was a couple of people with their kids said it was pretty new town. It's really nothing coming place. I love the idea of more businesses downtown, but it doesn't seem like they survive that long. And my feeling is that we have Main Street that goes all the way up to the Park and Ride and our beautiful town forests. I would love to see that become Route 1B and bring people down into our lovely little town. Because somebody I brought downtown just a week and a half ago said, oh, what a cute little town. I didn't know that. I thought it was just those places on Route 1. And I said, well, yeah, I know that. And I know the people on Route 1 have a problem with traffic being diverted, but all of it wouldn't. And signage would still bring people down to banks and stuff like that. So that, I'd love to see that, to support downtown businesses is basically my thought behind that.
I will say the Economic Development Committee is working very hard on both of those topics.
We have sign designs.
They're
happening, the signs are happening, they were voted on yesterday's select board meeting, you can tune in and actually see what the signs most likely will look like, and there's discussion about whether to be positioned.
Route 1B?
Yeah, pointing down towards, to take Route 1B
Coming
down.
down Main Street?
Yes.
Can't have it be
Alright, John.
Just real quick.
Yeah, we're almost done, let's listen really nicely to the people that still need to go.
I don't wanna sound like a broken record, but I can remember the days coming down here, my mother loaded 4 of us kids up here. We'd come down here, there'd be 3 grocery stores in the village, drugstore, 2 or 3 dentists, shoe store, tailor, clock, watchmaker, all that stuff, right here in the village. We spend the whole day down here, cause she was trying to round us kids up, I tried getting a haircut. But, are those days ever gonna happen again? We'd like to hope so. One thought I had is, what is available in the village for these future businesses? You know, what retail space is available, whether it's purchase or rent? What's out there? Not much, is there? I don't know. Not yet. Do we have the room in the village to build more business space? Maybe there's space in the blocks, I don't know. The Sproul block, you're not gonna get the, hoping Sproul block like it was in the 60s and 70s. It was all shops down below. Different type of building. But where are we gonna put these businesses? How are we gonna put them?
But they don't all have to go
For that
right
claim.
on 220, right? They can go all the way up Main Street.
Right, you got residential, you got the residential, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that we talked about that's not on here yet is just, general like sidewalk improvement and expansion, sort of like the sidewalk on Jefferson Street sometimes like is overgrown. And then just, a sidewalk all the way to Hannaford's, cause that's a big walking route, up to Moody's, up to like, just branching, maintaining and
Walkability.
Anything else on this list that you really feel like should be on this list that we haven't put on here yet?
Side note on the sidewalks, what about making them usable in the winter?
Sorry, say that.
Sidewalks usable in the
That's
winter.
Okay.
Anything we could do to focus on the water. So make it visible, that parks, walks, anything we could do to take advantage of beautiful waterfront. That's, I was just gonna say, the Worcester lodges are diamond in the rough.
Yeah, agreed.
And they are really.
And I gotta add,
The whole thing.
I gotta add my 2 cents to your point about the waterfront. I want to see the old bridge that used to be on Elm Street rebuilt as a pedestrian bridge.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
my passion project.
Oh. Where they just took the house
In case
down?
anybody doesn't realize, yeah, where the house is from now. In case anybody doesn't realize, that little park right by Hannaford on the river.
Was
You
it?
can see where the bridge is, the bridge was washed out in the 1930s, and never been rebuilt.
It's all private ownership now, though.
John might remember that.
Wait, say that again?
I don't remember private ownership.
I like to dive off those.
There's more information about that. It's a little detailed, but it's doable. It can be done.
All right, anything else to add to the list? Going once, going twice. All right, your, next, the next and last thing that I'm gonna ask you to do is, as you're getting up, as you're moving towards the door, as you're heading home, take a sticky dot. One sticky dot per person, only one. What is the absolute top priority for you here? It's gonna be hard, there's only one dot available. What is your absolute, mark your priority, and then you are free to go. Thank you so much for your time, your effort, your
I already
attention.
know mine.
There you go.
Great job.
You have my email address?
When is the next meeting?
Downtown Forum?
Yeah.
TBD. The next Economic Development Committee meeting is
First Thursday of the month.
first Thursday of the month. month, we talk about Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month, we talk about a lot of things there. And if there's
Seriously, thank you very much.
Yeah.